3 men die and are greeted by Satan at the gates of hell. Welcome, you sinners! Here in hell, your rank and your mode of transportation is based on your sexual experiences with women. And then he asked the first man, "How many women have you slept with?" The man thinks and says, "I think it must have been 2. My first longtime girlfriend with whom we were together for almost 20 years, and then my wife for the remaining 20 years of my life." The Satan looked at the man and said, "Boomerang, here is your roller skates." He took off with his roller skates, and then the Satan asks the second man, "How many women have you slept with?" He answers, "Well, I was known as a ladies' man. I have been with 5 women." The Satan starts to laugh and says, "That's nothing. Here's a bicycle for you." Now it was time for the last man, so he said, "I wasn't a big ladies' man, but when I was younger, I took part in an orgy and had a good 20 women that time. Later, only my wife for the rest of my life." The Satan thought about it long and then finally said, "Well, that still counts up to 21, so here's a scooter for you." A couple of weeks later, they all met, and they were wondering why the third man was crying. "What happened to you? You at least got a scooter, so you should be happy." "I know," he said, and continued, "But I just saw my wife driving a Ferrari." A gentleman was involved in a really bad car crash, and unfortunately, he suffered a terrible injury where his manhood was severely damaged. When he was being treated at the hospital, the doctors informed him that thanks to the incredible advances in modern medicine, they could reconstruct his manhood. However, there was a significant catch. His insurance wouldn't cover the operation because it was deemed a cosmetic procedure. The doctor carefully explained the costs involved, stating that it would be $3,500 for a small size, $6,500 for a medium one, and a staggering $114,000 if he wanted a large one. Naturally, the man began to seriously consider either the medium or the large option, contemplating the implications of each. However, the doctor wisely suggested that he should discuss such a significant decision with his wife before making any final choices. Heeding the doctor's advice, the man made a phone call to his wife and explained the entire situation to her, outlining the different options available to him along with their respective costs. After a considerable amount of discussion and deliberation over the phone, the doctor returned to the room and noticed that the man looked quite sad and disheartened. Curious about the outcome of the conversation, the doctor asked him gently, "So, what did you and your wife decide after discussing it?" The man, looking rather downcast and dejected, replied with a sigh, "She'd rather have a new kitchen." A man strolls confidently into a bar and, without hesitation, announces to the bartender, "Please give me a beer." The bartender, noticing something rather peculiar in the man's speech pattern, remarks with a slight tilt of his head, "It seems like you have a significant issue with stuttering." The man quickly responds, shaking his head emphatically, "No, no, no! I'm not kidding about my request. I really do want a beer." The bartender, intrigued, decides to share a personal anecdote. "You know," he says, leaning slightly on the counter, "I used to have a terrible stutter myself, but my wife actually found a rather unconventional way to cure it. One afternoon, she gave me oral sex 3 times in a row, and ever since that day, my stuttering completely stopped." The man listens intently, a thoughtful expression on his face, and replies, "That's really interesting to hear about." About a week later, the same man returns to the bar and hesitantly stutters, Could I please get a beer?" The bartender, a bit puzzled, asks him, "Didn't you try the solution I told you about last week?" The man answers earnestly, "I did. I really did try it, but it just didn't seem to help with my stutter. But, but I'll admit you'd have a very lovely home."